School shooting. I made that video yesterday and I took it down because there's just so much more information that was released directly after I published it. It turns out that not only did the school resource officer not go in and confront the gunman, but 3 other Broward County Sheriff's deputies stayed outside with their guns drawn behind their cars. But according to the Broward County Sheriff, the NRA is to blame for this. CNN had the town hall last week and Sheriff Israel accused the NRA of not standing up for students nationwide. The NRA fired right back at him and said, "No, Sheriff Israel, you were the one that didn't protect these children and that is your job. You run the largest fully accredited sheriff's office in the United States, yet your office failed this community." You guys know I don't normally talk bad about agencies, but they dropped the fucking ball on this one. If you didn't watch my video yesterday before I took it down, then here, I'm going to play a little clip from it about how many tips and how much information the FBI and the Broward County Sheriff's Department received. Peterson isn't the only law enforcement officer that fudged things up. There are a few others that are now suspended without pay pending an investigation into why the hell nothing was done prior to the shooting. Authorities even received third-hand information that he had planned to shoot up a school. He had posted on Instagram saying he wanted to shoot up a school. Let me read you this timeline I found of how bad whoever took the information fucked this up. Broward Sheriff's Office received third-hand information by the neighbor's son that the shooter planned to shoot up the school. This is the one where he warned him about the Instagram post where he posed with guns and threatened to shoot up his school. September 28, 2016, a peer counselor of the shooter reported that he may have attempted suicide by gasoline ingestion, was cutting himself, and wanted to buy hunting guns. A behavioral health therapist said he didn't present an immediate risk to himself and others. They said that he was mentally stable. September 24, 2017. He commented on a video with his intention to become a professional school shooter. This was reported to the FBI. November 29, 2017, the woman who took the shooter in after his mother's death called the Broward Sheriff's Office to say he was fighting with her 22-year-old son and shared worrisome details. She said he bought a gun from Dick's last week and is now going to pick it up, adding that he bought tons of ammo and had used a gun against people before and put the gun to others' heads in the past. According to the police report, he apologized for losing his temper and the family didn't want him arrested. November 30th, 2017, a caller phoned the Broward Sheriff's Office to report that the shooter collected guns and knives and could be a school shooter in the making. A Broward Sheriff's Office deputy advised the caller to contact the Palm Beach Sheriff. January 5th, 2018, the FBI received a tip by a person close to the shooter alerting them to the shooter's gun ownership, desire to kill people, erratic behavior, and disturbing social media posts, as well as the potential of him conducting a school shooting. But the public access line that received the tip failed to follow the protocol in place for such alerts. The information was not provided to the Miami field office, admitted the FBI, and no further investigation was conducted at that time. All the signs were there. Several people said he was going to shoot up a school, but nothing happened. I'm still looking through the reports, and I can't believe that all this information and it couldn't be prevented. Now reports are stating that Coral Springs police officers showed up on scene, rushed past the Broward County Sheriff's deputies, and went into the school. They're also saying now that Coral Springs police officers were pretty pissed off with the Broward deputies on scene. It got pretty heated between Sheriff Israel and the Coral Springs City manager Mike Goodrum on the night of the vigil on February 15th. They're saying that in front of dozens of people, the Coral Springs City manager approached Sheriff Israel and called him out for not protecting the students. Called him out for his deputies not going into the school. In Columbine, police officers set up a perimeter, and then they waited for the SWAT team to arrive before SWAT stormed the building. But during that time, shots were going off, kids were dying. As I said in my video yesterday, every single bit of training I've received on active shooter situations is if you're the first one on scene, you go in and you try to stop the threat because people are dying. So whatever it comes down to, the 4 sheriff's deputies on scene are just a bunch of pusses, or maybe Sheriff Israel just didn't have the proper training in his agency. A lot of people fucked up. They're saying that some more reports are going to be released later this week from the Coral Springs Police Department about the whole situation. I really look forward to hearing what they have to say about it. A lot of people outside of law enforcement probably don't realize that school resource officer positions are often given to people who are about to retire. Sometimes there's a little bit of nepotism involved from higher ups wanting to give a cushy job to one of their boys or girls. I'm not saying that was the case in this situation, but sometimes school resource officers are put in positions that they really shouldn't have when it's an important position that a young, hard-charging officer should have. It's kind of like when you pull up to your kid's school and you see the school resource officer directing traffic while she's looking at Tinder on her cell phone. Kind of like when it's the end of the day and the kids are at their most vulnerable standing outside in front of the school waiting for their parents to pick them up, but your school resource officer felt it was important to rush to the south side of town where there was a shooting instead of staying at her school. Please don't think I'm shitting all over school resource officers. I have met some amazing school resource officers. One in particular I'd like to give a shout out for, who I haven't seen in a while, who's a great guy with only one leg, but goddamn, he can run. I was on the SWAT team with a guy who had one leg who ended up being a school resource officer, an amazing school resource officer, and he would put his little bouncy leg on and just blow us all out of the water on runs. It's a cheater leg, Keith, a cheater leg. Anyways, that's enough about that situation. Let me direct your attention now to a tweet that I saw last night that is wrong. It's just fucking wrong. All right, so Samuel Sinyang... Sam, don't take this personally. I fuck up everyone's name. Samuel Sinyangwe. I think that's what it is. Sinyangwe. He says after Columbine, over 10,000 school police officers were hired just in case a school shooting happened. 2 decades later, they haven't stopped a single school shooting. Instead, they've arrested over 1 million kids, mostly students of color, for routine behavior violations. He goes on to cite some stats about how the majority of students arrested are students of color, and they're stigmatized with criminal records. And I would love to get into this and make a video on that. But for right now, I'm going to focus on the part where it says they haven't stopped a single school shooting. It took me a minute to Google about how that's just completely false. With almost 120,000 Twitter followers, you'd think someone would be a little bit more responsible. I'm kidding. Critical thinking is a dying art. People are just so lazy to open up Google and search. Like, oh, I'm just going to believe this random guy on the internet because he has a lot of followers and a little blue check mark. Here's one out of Coral Springs, Florida in 2016. A former Coral Springs High School student was arrested and charged with felony possession of a firearm on school property, possession of a firearm by a minor, trespassing, and disrupting a school function after police say he showed up at the school Monday with a loaded gun. Incident started Monday morning when 2 girls told the school's resource officer that another student had seen a gun. The girls initially described the student with the journal as the one with the gun, but the school resource officer had heard that Trollinger, the suspect, was on campus and he knew the former student should not have been at the school. The officer found him, cuffed him, detained him, and found a loaded 9mm in his front waistband. I would say that's preventing a school shooting. What about in Atlanta back in 2013 at Price Middle School? A 14-year-old was shot in the back of the neck by another student. An armed police resource officer apprehended the suspect within minutes. Here's another one that happened the other day at El Camino High School in South Whittier. A school security officer overheard the student threatening the occurrence of shooting up the school. The resource officer questioned the student, reported him to police, and they found a bunch of guns and ammo in his house. They ended up finding 2 ARs, tons of loaded mags, a few pistols, and some other stuff, thanks to the armed officer who was in the school. Mr. Samuel here says that he's a police analyst, so surely being a police analyst, you've heard of a show of presence before. One of the biggest things that police officers provide on patrol is a show of presence. As long as you see police officers, then there's likely to be less crime. Have you stopped to think about the thousands of officers whose show of presence by just being in the school has stopped school shootings? Just a thought. I'm sure there's more than that, but I just wanted to show you how easy it is to use a little critical thinking to verify if the shit you're reading on the internet is correct or not. I guess that's just too hard for some people, though. This lady had a pretty good argument in response to a person that said #facts matter. She says, "Facts matter, you nitwits are diverting from the larger point. Here's a pro tip, your gun is not an extension of your dick." Well, she got him there. I don't know how he's ever going to recover from that. That tweet was liked 63 times. Fuck me. Let's get off of school shootings for a little bit. I'm kind of tired of reading about it at this point. I'll do some more videos on it later, especially when more information is released as to why the 4 Broward County Sheriff's deputies didn't go into the school. So you guys remember those idiots in Houston that snapped themselves driving around shooting guns at houses late at night? The stupid woman you saw in the video was just sentenced to 5 years in prison. As far as the Milhoff goes, I don't see anything about what he's being convicted of. Maybe his trial is going to be at a later date, but I'll be sure to update you guys if I can find something. Speaking of jail, an inmate by the name of Robert Brown in Lee County, South Carolina was killed by another inmate. Why am I bringing this up? Well, because I never told you guys the story about how Mr. Brown here shot a buddy of mine in the face. A few years ago, Deputy Brad James initiated a traffic stop on Mr. Brown, who was killed by another inmate here, when Mr. Brown jumped out of his car and started running. Brad was chasing Brown up a fence. That's when Brown turned around with a Judge, yes, the 410 shotgun shell revolver Judge, and shot Brad in the face with it. Reports say that the slug hit Brad above his right eye, along the eyelid, shattering the eye socket and ripping the skin from eye to ear. The suspect then shot him again in his lower back. Brad chased the guy for another 200 yards before he collapsed in the middle of the street from his injuries. He returned back to work 35 days later. If you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that law enforcement officer suicide is a very important topic for me. So on April 26th, I will be attending the Dallas Regional Conference on Law Enforcement Suicide and making a video about that. What this means is that I'm going to be in Dallas that whole weekend of April 26th, and we're going to do a meetup. I'm not sure exactly what day yet. I'm still trying to work my schedule around to see what I'm going to be doing down there. But if there's anyone in Dallas or the surrounding area that wants to hang out and grab some drinks with me, we're going to do our first official meetup. There will be more information about our little meetup we're going to have released. I just wanted to let everyone know that I will be in Dallas and we can hang out and drink beers. Shameless plug time. If you have Amazon Prime, you can go over to twitch.tv/StoneitOperator and subscribe to me for free. If you've already subscribed to me that way, just remember if you're using Amazon Prime and you're doing the free subscription thing that you have to resubscribe every month. That's probably the biggest thing that's helping out with the channel right now is all the free subscriptions you guys are throwing towards me. Just to be completely transparent with you, it gives me $2.50 per Twitch Prime sub. I just want to thank everyone for taking a few minutes out of their day and subbing to me on Twitch. It's actually what's helping me pay to go to the Dallas Regional Conference on Law Enforcement Suicide. All right, everyone, that's all I've got for you right now. I hope you're having a safe weekend. Everyone, have a fantastic day.